Welcome to Talk Tennis. Today I'm joined by Chris, Jason, and Troy.
Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
And we're talking all things Babolat Pure Aero. Boom.
Yes.
Let it begin. We did this with the V-Core one, so I'm going to ask you a first warm-up question. What is your favorite Pure Aero that you have ever played with? Yeah.
Chris?
Easy for me. I mean, I was a huge fan of the exiting model, right? So the current / going away model. I use it a lot for string playtesting in the 98 specifically. So that for sure was my favorite going in to the hitting of this one. And then it took me 2 swings with a blacked out prototype of the new Pure Aero 98 to realize they've taken a great racket and made it even greater. So it's my favorite.
And that's how we start the pod.
For me, we're going back, but you remember my racket of choice way back in the day before these was the Aero Storm. Red and white one, where this is like the evolution of the Storm. So that one, and then like you, the previous / current generation that's outgoing was my favorite. And I almost switched to it. Very close. So, Troy?
Aerostorm like Dinara Safina.
Yeah.
I think of her game, I think of your game.
Right? We're very similar. Same temperament.
And height.
And height. Yeah. If I have a ladder.
I'll probably go with Rafa Origin.
Oh.
Because like it's
Swing
like...
weight.
Yeah, like it's one of the only
Swing weight.
arrows I wouldn't have to customize.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would say this, like I've tried some Origins that had like 370 swing weights, almost 380. And then I've hit some Origins that were like 350 swing weight, in that range. And I would say, yeah, I would go with an Origin that had a closer to more manageable swing weight.
Okay.
Now, would you tail weight it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would probably...
So it's still headlight.
I would add some handle weight to it because it was very close to evenly balanced. But I think in stock form, this was the best feeling. Like it's so solid, like it plays like what a pro stock I would think would be of an arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Michelle, how about you?
Yeah, I think I just have like nostalgia, so I go back to this one. Was that the one we filmed outside at
This one?
French Park? Yeah. And Siobhan was there, and it was like Marco.
Oh, it
and-
might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
And I feel like I just really remember loving hitting with this one.
Yeah, what year was this?
20, I want to say 16.
Yeah, that's like a 16-ish.
Yeah, 2016.
Vintage.
So like the bright
Yeah,
highlighter
vintage.
yellow started. This was
Because it was
post
the
Banana.
first...
Or was Banana
It was also the
after?
first Pure Aero.
Oh, okay, and not APD.
Yeah, Aero
Yeah,
Pro
there
Drive.
you
So
go.
it had like the embedded grommets.
Yeah.
It had the open string spacing,
Yeah.
whereas the APD was like the tight string spacing. The 2013 was the last of the APD. And that was like, I felt like the last of like the really crisp feeling arrows.
That was a tough name change for me just to remember when I was talking about the racket because it's been such an iconic racket already.
Yeah.
And so used to calling it a
Yeah.
Pro Drive, but then we had to switch it up.
So now for 2026, I'm going to mention that we have a full podcast that probably already came out with Guillaume from Babolat explaining like all the intricacies on the technology changes and how they tested and different things that have been updated. So we're not going to spend too much time in the weeds there. But this team was pretty influential through the playtesting process. So maybe you guys can talk through some of the things you noticed with the prototypes you hit and go from there.
Yeah, how long ago did they come when we hit some prototypes?
It was
This
February.
was-
It was February of this year.
Yeah.
Of 25.
Yeah, and they came with a few versions of blacked out, and we got to hit them and give feedback without knowing anything else except...
So we were hit. I remember we were warming up 4 on a court. So we were warming up down the line. I was hitting. They had so they came, but we had rackets before that, right? And
Yeah.
we hit
Blue
them,
and the red.
and then there was some changes made.
Yes.
But then these ones that we hit, they were pretty much baked, as we like to say, at that point. I remember I hit 2 backhands. We're going down the line, and I just switched out of the current one. Grabbed a 98. They were identical. They were matched by the Babolat team. And my first 2 backhands, I was aiming down the line, went middle. And I was like, and I looked at them, and I was like, what did you do to make the racket? I was like, the specs are the same, right? Because it feels like I've got less swing weight. And they were like, no, the specs are the same. I was like, okay, what did you do to make the racket faster? Because I'm early. You know, my first 2 shots hitting the same ball that I've just been warming up on for the last few minutes. And then when we switched to full court hitting, just the amount of shape I could get on the ball, what I could do with the ball, how much more creative I could be just because the racket is faster. And I also noticed, because I have a Wani, the feel of the throat switching between the two felt different in my hand. And that was when I was like, oh, it's edgier, it's sharper, and it's cutting through the air better is what I would assume from all of that. And it plays exactly like that, faster, more aerodynamic version.
Yeah. Did you feel like that when you hit your 1s? Like touching the right there?
I noticed the shape.
Yeah,
I noticed the shape or the frame geometry difference right away just by looking at it. The first time I picked it up, when we hit like the blacked out samples, I was like, okay, these two are different in the throat. But I think when we tested them, I was mostly hitting 2-handed backhands.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I was thinking, these feel slightly faster, and I didn't know why. But they felt great and really easy to accelerate. And I need a racket that helps me accelerate the ball without much effort. So they feel like just a slightly faster version of the outgoing one.
Nice.
So.
I think also what was cool is when we did get the final, the baked rackets, we all kind of had the same feedback.
Yeah.
And Babolat was like, wait, that's what they said. That's what he said. That's what she said. And it was like, oh, see? And
we were very aligned on our experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, so launching is the Pure Aero 100, the Pure Aero 98, the Pure Aero Light, the Pure Aero Plus, and the Pure Aero Team, which the Team has notoriously kind of been like a little bit of a cult WTA racket because they will take it and then customize it up. So that's always going to be interesting to see who's switching. The specs have not changed, right? That was not the game plan.
Target specs are the same.
Target specs are the same. And let's talk through sort of just the areas of the court, and then we can answer some of these questions. And we can kind of just open it up to the 100, 98, and the Plus. So those are the ones we're most familiar with. So on ground strokes, who wants to get going? I mean, you guys already kind of alluded to the changes that you felt, but how did it feel on groundies?
Great. It felt like a Pure Aero 98 and very whippy and lots of spin, but it's not, unlike the 100, I still feel like I get a bit more control, and it feels better on the backhand slice. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, I like, so the 98 plus, the 98, the 100 and the 100 plus are the ones I've been hitting. I haven't ventured into team land. But the 98, like Jay, it's my favorite just because it does offer that little bit more control. And it's still, still a Pure Aero. You still get all the spin. In fact, you get more spin now. So on the ground, I found like I could really just be more aggressive than I normally would. I'd had a very high comfort level, comfort level with this racket. I can feel like I can get the ball up and over the net quickly. So when it's low, I can still stay on the gas. I don't have to just try and lift it and roll it in. I can still try and rip it, and I'm getting the action on the ball to get it back inside the court. So that one's really fun. The 100 is just a easier, freer power version of it, but I find that's the one where I might get into trouble with it. A little bit easier.
Easier to overhit that? Yeah.
And then the Plus, I've been really enjoying the Plus too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Troy, about the Plus because I haven't really hit it too much. And previously, I love that racket, but it's too much. And so I'm curious, is it still loaded with a ton of power, swing weight, mass, spin, all the things, or how does it feel different?
I would say the thing I'm noticing is the feel of the rackets, which the biggest thing for me that I appreciate over some of these, like I notice it specifically in this new model, but like I said with like the Aero Pro Drive from 2013, that was like one of the last like really crisp, firm feeling, and I feel like they've gotten more and more comfortable.
Okay.
So like a little bit more plush feeling. I wouldn't say like maybe as comfortable as an E-Zone or some of those really like even more flexible kind of thicker beam rackets, but I would say the comfort's good. So I think that's a big thing for me, especially with a lot of younger players using these rackets, you know.
Full poly.
Yeah, because in the past, Babolat's kind of, you know, had the rep of like, oh, they're not the greatest on the arm, you know, and I think they are doing a really good job with that. As far as the Plus goes, that's the one I've been hitting the most. It feels pretty fast for an extended length racket. I would say that's pretty true with this Aero Plus. Even like the Pure Drive Pluses have gotten really fast. Kind of also reminds me of like the Solinco Blackouts now that are extended. They're really under 330 swing weight. I think this one we're having listed right around 330, but because of the aerodynamic beam, it feels fast. And then as far as power level, I was surprised. Maybe it's because of my stroke style, like because I tend to get the ball up and down. I dip a lot on my forehand, maybe more than most some of the other testers. But I felt like control was pretty good. I can still feel a difference when I go to an E-Zone 98 Plus, which is kind of like my baseline racket, to this one as far as like control and precision. But the gap isn't like too hard for me to adapt to. Like I can jump into that racket and still be pretty consistent without being like, oh, I can't control the ball at all. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, there's like little nuances of more comfort, a tad more controllable power that I'm finding with this one.
I think it's great, the Plus on the backhand slice as well. You've got that little extra leverage. I feel like right at that last minute, I can kind of like cut it cross court, or I can fade it down the line and just kind of use my hand position and wrist to dictate that, and I kind of hold it in my swing. And just with that leverage, it just gives me that ease of use to do that a little bit more over like the 98 or the standard 100.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to start getting into some of the questions that YouTube is asking us, just because it will cover some of the other things we want to talk about. So first things first, there's going to be a lot of questions about asking comparisons. How does it compare to the new V-Core for serve, power, and spin? And I think they mean, how does it compare on serve for power and spin?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say the launch angle out of the V-Core is more aggressive. It's higher launch. Yeah. So if you're a player that's generating a lot of spin, you're definitely going to be able to give the ball plenty of net clearance and get it to dip into the box. This one, I think you're going to hit slightly lower launch on it, but it's still very spin-friendly racket too. Like the actual spin generation, I'd have to go down and fire up the Zenith machine.
I was going to say, we get to do that later today.
We get to
I'm excited.
See some numbers. And I think the V-Core gives you like a little bit more free power. It's like the string patterns feel more open. It's more trampoline-y, and I feel like I'm getting more pop on the V-Core, but I feel I can swing harder with this one because the control is better, and I'm not launching as much.
And a reminder that the 98 does have the 1620 string pattern, which I think is the best string pattern right now.
Did you say that's like a sweet spot of string pattern?
It's the Goldilocks. It's the Goldilocks string pattern.
Would you say the V-Core is more trampolini, like Jasmine Paolini?
That we go home.
Were you waiting for that?
He's been waiting.
I thought about that.
He's been saving
He wrote it on his palm.
On my Palm Pilot. But yeah, you do notice just by looking at the string bed on the Aero that the squares, it's tighter than the V-Core. With some of these older Pure Aeros where, for you stringers out there, people that string, the skips on the old Pure Aeros were 7 and 9. So basically the way the strings, same pattern, but the strings are more spaced apart. When they went to the last generation of the Pure Aero 100, they went back to the old Aero Pro kind of spacing where there's only one skip at 8, so everything's more condensed, and that's why like our WTA player Kayla Day went to the team from the 100. It wasn't because she wanted to drop weight; she wanted that open pattern, and the team still has the 2 skip open spacing. and then she weighted it up to play like more like a normal Aero 300 gram.
There you go.
But yeah, so that's definitely something physically to the eye. So that's where like I think there's, you know, you guys are talking about the launch angle, but as far as like rotation on the ball, because of the Aero design, like it's still very, very like you can get the ball rotating crazy. But the biggest thing for me, because of that physical difference in the string bed spacing, is where the V Core kind of more like that. This one a little more like that.
Yeah.
Go
The
ahead.
beach is this way. The way.
So I was testing rackets with another brand on a smart court, and this was a while ago with the current Pure Aero 100, and I was testing their racket, testing a bunch of competing rackets, and then it came to hit the Pure Aero, and I could tell just from like I was hitting a fed ball. I didn't even have to look at the numbers. I'm like, oh, this is better than anything else I've hit today. And I looked at the engineers and I was like, I feel like I should hold back right now. I'm sorry, but I can hit a really nice ball with this racket. It's such an easy racket to use. And they were like, yeah, it's a very good racket. And I'm like, okay. So then I just carried on hitting, and my numbers were really good with the Pure Aero compared to everything I hit that day. And I hit rackets from a bunch of different brands. So yeah, it's a good racket.
When you said a fed ball, though,
I fed her ball. I was like,
like,
oh, dude, he's doing the Manish.
No, they were, sorry,
Fed.
they were feeding me.
They're feeding
Fed.
him.
Feeding
No, I'm
me.
just kidding. Yeah.
I wish
got
I
it.
could hit the fed ball. I'm like, see you guys, I'm hitting them top.
Before we go on to something else, a question that falls right into line is the string pattern open like the banana frame from 2019 or the more recent one?
It's the same as the last gen.
Okay.
Yep.
At least on the 300 gram and the plus 100s, they're the slightly more dense 1619 with the skips at 8. Whereas the I still think the lower weight models, the Team and the Light, have the more open pattern like the banana and these older Pure Aeros.
Yeah.
7 and 9 skips.
Nice.
So yeah, if you want that more open spacing, you could do the Kayla Day method and go lighter and then customize it up, and you'll have the more open pattern.
That is great consumer advice right there.
Yeah, literally.
Probably the best consumer advice we've had on the podcast.
Consumer Reports.
Yeah, right. I know that's in the weeds, man. Supposedly, there's a bunch of updates, even with changes to the mold. How differently does it play? Troy, you were just talking about this to me off camera about the updates. You want to kind of walk through them?
Yeah. So the biggest story and noticeable thing is the new throat shape. You know, as far as like that's supposed to improve aerodynamics, increase your whippability of the racket.
Whippability.
But I was talking to Jonathan, who does our racket descriptions and all that, and he was getting in. I don't know the exact like science, but they did like rearrange the flax fibers, which is their technology.
Yeah, it's like Flax 2.0 now or something.
Yeah, more flax.
More flax.
You know, but it does, to me, it does play pretty comfortable for an Aero.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was pretty smooth.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't lose its identity. I think that's maybe something we kind of talked about in the early prototype testing was like, it was like, man, this thing doesn't feel like an Aero anymore. It's almost, you know, maybe going like Clash-like. It was too soft, too dampened kind of feel. And I think it plays a little more comfortable. But as soon as I hit it, I was like, okay, it feels like an Aero, you know.
Yeah.
It's not too muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't
And
lose its identity.
The RA is not high on these, not like you would expect from a power Babolat type racket.
Yeah.
So
I'm pulling up
Yeah,
the
mid-60s.
RA. Yep.
Right? Yeah.
100s, that's right now subject to change, but it's at 66.
Yeah.
Let's see what the 98's at. 66.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions about feel for sure. So people want to know how it feels. Will the racket... Oop, yep.
So back in the early plus versions of the racket, that was one of the things I think like the impact zone changes a little bit when you go to a plus and racket, just how it is in your swing. And I used to play the Pure Drive Plus and love the response of that racket, as I know you do as well, Michelle. And I just could never gel. I liked the standard Pure Aero, could never get along with the plus and version. It felt clunky in my hand. The impact field didn't feel like the regular Pure Aero. I mean, I always just struggled with that. And so I think I was using the 2015 Pure Drive Plus and loved that racket. Just didn't like the Pure Aero Pluses. But this Plus, I do like the feel of it. And I said, especially on the backhand slice, feel really connected. It's way more comfortable up towards the tip. So yeah, I think they've done a good job.
Nice. Do you guys think that this racket has more control like it did from 2019 to 2023? Will the racket get more towards control like it did? In terms of control,
I think they're trying to say like from 19 to 23, it got like a little more control. And I think that maybe has a lot to do with the string reconfiguration, like the density. But I'd say it's more along the lines of the last one.
Yeah.
In terms of control, but still packs a punch to me.
Yeah.
Maybe not pure drive punch, but
yeah. Yeah, I think it has the mass a little bit more than the 100, so it's got the mass power from the mass, and then the string pattern helps, and everything helps that it's still got some pop to it, but it's not like crazy launchy and like where you feel like you can't fully swing out.
And you were saying the more mass compared to the 100 with the 98, right?
98 versus the 100, yeah.
I have a bit of a hot take. I wasn't sure when I was going to say this, but I'll say it now. I could switch to the Pure Aero 98 like now, yesterday, last week. And I've been using the Pure Drive 98. Just this racket, the thing that I noticed for me, and I've talked about this a little bit, it's sometimes hard for me to explain it to people, but I can manipulate my hands after I make contact to keep the ball in. So with like the RF, that racket is so heavy and controlled that like once I make contact, I'm like, I'm good. I know I'm getting the ball in the court. But with the V-Core that we just recently tested, once I make contact, I really have to like make sure I finish the shot or the ball kind of can fly on me.
Yeah.
With the Pure Aero, it's all like right there when you make contact. And like, I feel like it just helps me keep the ball in play. So it's like very maneuverable, but it's still super stable. But like at the last second where I'm like, oh shoot,
like that
I
little
might
window
not.
where you kind of making the dwell time window kind of thing, that slot right
and
there.
I can like manipulate it to work. And it's just so like easy to flow through my shots right now. And like,
I feel like I can hold the ball.
Yeah.
You know, I really kind of, especially when I've got that kind of mid-court ball, backhand or forehand, I feel like I can wait on it, kind of check to see if my opponent's leaning one direction or the other, and then go where I want to go. If I, last second want to change my mind, this is a good racket to do that with. It's so quick and easy to position.
Yeah.
That's funny you say that, because there's like some podcast stuff from Agassi and from Fed that I'm thinking about right now. I know we're talking about Aero, but Fed talked about that a lot when he was talking about the design of the RF going. And you're saying the RF 97. It's hard for you because it's such a hefty plow through racket to really manipulate anything at the last second. Where Fed, remember he talked about my hands have gotten slower. He kept saying my hands are not as fast as they used to be, whether that's kinetic chain or his actual hand, I don't know. But he went down 20 grams in the racket, to get that like manipulation.
Because you're like, you can like make contact and you're like, oh shoot, that wasn't right. And then like counter correct. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And then the Agassi part was he was talking about when he used to play Roger back in the day, and he was saying like nobody could. It was such a disguise the way he would hold the ball in the racket, whether it was his one-hander or forehand. Like at the last second, he could just hold it, cross. And Agassi really had a hard time reading that, So it's kind of that what you're talking about.
Yeah, disguise with that. Someone asked, the biggest question we all have is, will Rafa be making the switch?
God, I hope he comes back.
He was hitting with a couple of like up and coming pros in the academy lately, practicing with them. I forget, he was working out with Aero girl Alex Ciala.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah.
She was at the academy, so he was training with her.
That's cool.
He had his origin, but he was looking pretty good.
Come back? 2026?
Bring him back.
Come play dubs at least.
Let's see. Swing weight, stiffness RA, difference between 2023 and 2026. How is the throw impact of the racket? Also compared to the V-Core 98 and 100D. We haven't hit the 100D, I wish, because that would be a good comparison maybe. And we kind of hit all those. I can run through the specs real quick if we want.
Yeah, because
you got them?
Well, yeah, you can
Go
pull
for
'em
it.
up,
You
but
got it.
I don't have the current 2023 specs though.
I can pull that up.
I think they're pretty much the same.
Just on the 100?
Well, at least on the 98.
On the 98.
They're pretty close from the two gens.
Yeah.
But like
yeah.
the current, they're the new 100 that we have on the table here, 2026. The weight's still 300 grams, so strung about 11.2.
Same.
Balance is about 4 headlights
Same.
strung. Swing weight we have listed right now at about 320, which
And it was 318.
okay. So there's a
Right
little
there.
Within spec.
little
Yeah.
nuance
with
there.
the spec talents. Yeah.
A speck of warehouse dust, on the, And then the stiffness we have at 66 right now.
Same.
I don't know if the beam taper changed, but we have it at 23, 26, 23.
That was the same.
Which would be like tip, 3 and 9, and throat. So that's the one. That's the standard 100.
Yep. So same.
Yeah.
Same
And then,
targeted specs.
Okay, do the 98.
Do the 98.
98,
Do the
98. So we have that one's a 305 unstrung gram, so about 11.4 strung.
Same.
About 6 points headlight strung.
Same.
The swing weight we have listed right now as an average is 322.
321.
And then the stiffness rating 66 on the RDC machine.
Same.
And then the taper on the beam is 21, 23, 22.
Same.
So,
Yeah.
There you go.
very similar. And then we do have the plus as well.
I mean, I have a question for everyone.
Yeah.
I think we all like the Pure Aero 98 at this table.
Yeah.
Right. What is going to equal this? Not even beat it, but just equal this in 26. Is there another racket that's going to equal the playability of the Pure Aero 98? I mean, because I really feel like it's a really good racket.
There does not exist.
Well, I know what would need to happen in order for me to want to probably switch to it.
Uh-oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sponsorships, huh? Like
No,
new
Chris,
cars?
He's
no.
asking for
Oh, I
money.
know.
It'd have to
This
get a
is
little. It'd have to
something
get a little taller.
Yeah, we
No,
can't talk
but-
about.
I mean, it's not a secret that I play extended on all my frames
Yeah.
pretty much. So there's
There were
that.
those. Remember, there were those butt caps you could put on. The,
Yeah.
Yes.
They were.
XTP or
There
something.
are
Yeah.
a couple customizers in Europe that will extend your racket. I think it's about $50.
Yeah. Dieter from DC
Mm-hmm.
or Roman. I have to hit up Roman Prokes, man.
I mean-
send him a money order.
I mean,
Yeah, he takes money orders.
You know.
it's tempting. Oh,
But yeah, what could beat it? I don't know. Can we talk about releases coming next year?
I think someone on here might have, but I don't know if we can.
Okay. Well,
I
we'll
mean,
see if
the-
it comes up in the questions.
There was a highly rated Prince racket
Oh,
that is maybe getting an update next year. It's
Oh,
a
that we
different.
can
It's a
talk
little
about, I think.
different. It's a little different playability. It's not maybe as much power spin. Maybe a little more control feel. The
Sure.
Tour 98 ATS got really good scores, and it's a great racket. I know Oak pretty much plays with that as his racket of choice.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a little more slightly usually toned down as far as power spin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
No,
man.
this is tough to beat, I think.
Yeah, it's good. Don't believe us? Get a demo.
Yeah.
You'll be like, well, wow, man, this is a good racket.
Yeah.
okay. So we can all
For
agree
me
on
though,
this.
sorry.
No, you're good.
V-cores.
No.
I'm really looking forward to the 95.
Okay.
Okay.
But I also
Yeah.
like more control frames.
Right, and that's
So that might be like
Also,
that,
I'm like,
that,
who in 2026 is playing with 95 square inch racket? Troy. Sorry. I don't need to know the pros.
okay.
Troy 95 leather grip, tail weighted.
I mean, we are getting a little off topic, but Yonex 95s don't play like other 95s. They're so forgiving.
That's true.
Yeah, so
That's a bar right there. The Yonex 95s don't play like 95s. You know?
Catch me outside.
How about that?
Someone was asking for the head tour to be 95 instead of 98, and I know head sometimes measures differently, but I'm like, you don't need anything smaller than a 98. Let's be real.
98.
That's the story you tell yourself, Michelle.
I know.
You're discounting your skills, you know?
I'm going to stick with that 98. Again, we can all agree on one thing. However, controversial, and we're recording this before the cosmetics have officially come out, but they have leaked. Someone said, hands down, the worst paint job I've ever seen.
Oh, what?
Wow.
And then time to switch to the, which might be the one thing I can't say. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's coming next year.
I'm not going to be
Potentially.
the one to say it. I don't want anyone mad at me.
I mean, personally, I like the cosmetic. I mean, I'm 52. I'm not the target consumer, perhaps. Maybe for that 98 I am, but not for the... I think it's it's a very it's always been a very youthful racket, and I think I feel it's a slightly more, it's a more mature cosmetic than the outgoing one for sure. But yeah, I think it looks great out in the sun. Yeah, it's not offensive to me in any way. I would, there are rackets I'm out there, I'm like, wow, that would have to play really well because I just don't like the cosmetic. But this one, yeah.
One controversial, they went from gloss to matte.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it works well with this color. I do really like this color.
Yeah.
The accent with the more neon yellow is this kind of gunmetal / almost like there's a greenish color in there, I think it looks cool. I like that color a lot. One thing I'm thinking of right now, I don't know, have you seen the bags? Like
I don't
in
know.
person or like
don't
bags
think
to match?
so.
Okay. Because I think the bags would be cool in this.
The full.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
I really like that
I can't
color.
remember if we saw them or not, but
Yeah, I like them. I think they're a little bit more modern looking, and I like modern. So.
Although I guess no one in this room is under the age of 30.
I do really like the gloss, and I think this will definitely be a cosmetic that will be remembered. I do really like the black, white, yellow gloss here. The thing I don't like about this version is all this clutter.
It's really busy in the throat.
Yeah,
If this
all
was
the little
just
different
gray-
geometry, confetti.
Yeah, if this was just gray and black, I think it would be just a beauty of a frame. And it
Yeah.
still is a nice looking glossy frame. I just think that's the downside for me is this cluttery design.
Yeah.
I'm
This
going to
doesn't-
read you
doesn't need to be there.
another comment about the cosmetic just because people seem very polarized on it. And I think maybe that's because it was like a leak and maybe you haven't seen it. I don't know. This person says the color of the frame just doesn't suit me. It's ugly. Too many colors mixed with too many graphics create chaos. It lacks elegance, which I kind of think that green is a very elegant color.
It's very elegant, and it's much cleaner than the outgoing
yeah,
model.
there's
Yeah.
way less things going on.
So thanks for the comment. I kindly disagree.
Eye of the beholder.
They think that the Pure Drive and the Strike are much better designed. I like the carbon Strike, but
Yeah.
I don't. The weird Geo Strike words were not doing it for me though on that cosmetic, and then the Pure Drive's fine, but yeah. Another one said cosmetics have been leaked and it's a big step backwards. So maybe we're not
just gotta
seeing.
see it.
Yeah,
They
maybe
gotta
you're
see
not
it.
seeing what we're seeing. I don't know.
In person.
There definitely seems to be a trend where just the name of the racket is written in some wackadoodle way. I mean, Babolat with the Strike aren't the only ones. I mean, look at the head speeds, and you've got these
Vocal
letters. So plenty of other brands are doing the same thing.
Okay, we'll get back on track. How
Yeah.
about if we compare it to the Blackout? That seems to be a popular racket lately. And we kind of talked about this, but how's the power compared to the old one, assuming spin didn't go down? So
I mean, I would say they're closer now than they were. The original Blackouts were lively.
Yeah.
The new ones are dialed in nicely, and I feel like I can control the power better with them. So I would say the comparison is much closer now than it was. But then again, I'd probably compare it more to a Pure Drive than a Pure Aero.
Yeah, like I feel
Yeah.
like the new
Yeah.
Blackout V2, the camo, they toned down the power, little softer feel. So for me, it kind of feels like, I guess the power level is like a little tiny bit lower than a Pure Drive currently, but maybe in between the Aero and the Pure Drive for the Blackout V2. But
Yeah.
Here's another question that just came in, actually. They're struggling with the durability of Pure Arrows. How about increasing the durability so hairline cracks don't show up in 5 minutes? That's a you problem. I have broken 0 rackets out of anger, but 6 to 7 of these arrows this way. Has anyone had issues? Jay, you are hard on your rackets.
I usually put them to the test. And no, with the last current generation, I haven't had any issues. And then I haven't hit enough with the new one to really test the grommets and all the stuff around it. But
he's talking more like in the throat, right? Like from like
hairline,
yeah. Yeah.
There's one of these. I don't know if it's a stringers all, but there's one with a line in the throat on the table, right?
I know. I noticed that when I was like, wait.
It's this one, right?
Oh.
No,
Right. Or is it this one?
it's one of them. I saw it.
The tape just like also kind of looks funky.
Oh, yeah, it's this one right there. I don't have my reading glasses on, but I can see that.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. If that's
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
paint.
I haven't heard of like
Yeah.
Durability issues.
common breakage issues. I don't know. Then again, I'm not like hitting the ball like Holger Rune or anything. Maybe at the elite pro tour level. I don't know if there's. I haven't heard of it. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I used the current 98 for a ton of string testing. It was either that or the Speed Pro at the time. And I was happy with either one. And, there are days when we have a bunch of strings we need to test, and you're taking like 4 or 5 rackets down to the court. And so these rackets were not only getting hit a lot, but they were on and off the stringer all the time because I was constantly getting strings cut out so I could test the next one. And zero issues.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of strings, let's talk about our favorite strings in these rackets.
You guys like the Rip 'em?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Are you a fan of the Rip 'em?
Rip 'em?
Rip 'em Blast, Rip 'em Team.
No. Not really. Chris likes the Rip 'em.
I do.
Yeah.
So I'm a RPM fan, but I will be first to admit the playability does drop off.
Yeah.
So you have that magical window, and then I'm like, okay, now I've got to cut it out and put another set in. I mean, yeah, we're cutting strings out all the time here just because we constantly have to be testing new stuff, but that's not a string I would keep in for an extended period of time. But man, when it's fresh, it's a fun string to hit.
What's in
Yeah,
here?
I've hit a lot with a Blast. We have one Aero 100 that we tried with Cyclone. 125.
I mean, that's a
Cyclone.
playtest
That's
favorite.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice and
That's a good
crisp.
one.
Crisp, but got some pop to it. With the older ones, I remember, we've tried a bunch of different polys. Hyper G, P6, Confidential, Lynx Tour. I know you did a comparison test and you used Lynx Tour with Brit or something like that.
And I know when we got the prototypes to hit, they asked us what string we wanted to hit in them, and I asked for Hurricane. Because I was like, it's a known string. It kind of took the string out of the variables. And so, and that's a string that I can play a bit longer. It's firmer, crisper, but the playability lasts better for me.
Nice. And what tension range? As I mentioned, a lot of people are concerned about feel, comfort with the Pure Arrows. So would you guys make any adjustments, or how
In the
would you-
100, we're usually going about 52 or 53 on a crank machine, like a lockout machine. On the 98, personally, because it is a little more control, I like to drop down to like 48 with a Hyper G, like a really controlled poly Hyper G, or like a Lynx Tour or RPM. I go down on the 98 a little bit, but I'd say for the most part, we all kind of liked it between like 50 to 53.
50, 52, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd keep it right there.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, it's same. On 98, I drop as well.
Yeah.
And this franchise has a few pro endorsements. Who can we expect to be swinging these? It's still a little early. It's preseason, so we haven't seen too many yet. But, obviously there's a big one.
There's that one guy.
Is he
One
big or is he
guy.
little? Little Carlitos? Or
Carlitos.
Big car?
Carlitos.
Yeah. So Alcaraz for sure.
This
Yeah.
color reminds
Right?
me of a color Carlitos would like.
Yeah.
I
think so.
asked him.
Yeah.
It's in his wheelhouse. right?
Yeah.
I
feel
could see him
like-
coming out on court with like some matching Jordans.
Oh, totally.
Matching his hair to it.
Oh my gosh.
He's back to the black, the dark hair.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
He did the exhibition last week in
It's back.
Atlanta or Miami or whatever. He played Fonseca.
Oh yeah.
Got a haircut.
Yeah.
Nice fade. But Carlos, kind of sad right now, but Holger Rune is usually the arrow guy. And
Yeah.
his leg's pretty beat up. Did
Yeah.
he tear his Achilles
Yeah.
Yeah.
or knee or something?
It's gonna be a minute.
He was right when he got hurt at the end of last year. He was doing a feeding drill and he
Yeah.
was sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
But
I saw that.
But
What
those
about,
But on a
two-
positive, FAA.
What about your boy FAA?
Yeah.
dude? He came up, huh?
He's had a year.
He had a year.
Got married.
Shoot. Jay was almost writing him off at one point. You
He's
know,
back.
He's back.
Yeah. He had quite
No.
the year.
But yeah, I like Felix, and he's an arrow guy.
Layla.
On the women's side, Layla,
Mm-hmm.
they were just showing a rerun of one of her matches this year, a big win she had against Rabakina. And that's like
She had a good
battle
year,
of like
too.
two different, much bigger player, Rabakina and Layla. But Layla got her in 3. I forget what tournament that was, Cincinnati or Toronto or one of those Masters, something like that.
And you're going to see this Cosmetic a lot
Yeah.
on the Pro Tour.
We have Team T-Dub players. It will be interesting to see when and how they switch because like Desiree Kraftcheck uses a Pure Aero. Kayla Day, you
Kayla Day.
mentioned.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the Filipino, Alex Ayala.
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 Yeah.
She's an arrow.
Amina Bektis.
That's right.
See
Yeah.
if she ever-
If she ever switches over, she's still like on the 19. Yeah. But she
Yeah.
uses a plus.
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And she's tall too.
she is. So a lot of pros.
And then besides the pros, I mean,
You're probably going to see a few people in here use it.
the 98,
Right?
it's just crazy. It seems like, I've strung at a couple open tournaments and stuff like that. And then you see like a majority, like a big number of like Division I college players and like how popular that racket's become. It seemed like the blade was like
Yeah.
very
That
heavy
was
for
the-
a while. Some V-Core E-Zone, but like the Aero 98 seems like it's almost like taking the college
That's what it sounds
by,
like.
by storm as one of the majorities. Yeah.
And are you seeing that just with the guys, or is that the men and the women?
A lot of the guys, but I have seen some of the women players too. More some
There's a lot
maybe
of
some
E-zones on the
maybe
women's
some
side.
more Aero 100s. But I know like at one of the local tournaments, there was a number 1 girl from UCSB who did really well. I think she almost made main draw at US Open last year. But she was a radical player and she switched over to Aero 98
Oh.
for a bit.
Nice.
It's a pretty popular stake.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, to wrap up this episode, I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, you guys have to sell this stuff to us. They're just saying it's great. So maybe you can like genuinely make a plea what you loved, who should try it, why they should try it. If there was anything you didn't like, I don't think anyone has anything they didn't like.
I mean, the Plus is a serving machine. Also, I liked it at net, so it's a good doubles racket. If you want to, chip and charge, you want to serve and volley, you want to really get in quickly and put the ball away, and then you've got that huge power from the baseline too when you need to hit a big passing attempt or just light someone up if that's your cup of tea. So I really enjoyed that one. The 98 is just, like I said earlier, it's going to be a tough racket to beat in 26.
Yeah.
I'm usually like a naysayer. Like if everyone likes something, I'm like, I don't want to like it. I can't not like that racket, the 98. And like you guys are like very more pure arrow. You've always been like more pure arrow. You got all the spin on your forehand. I don't hit spin on my forehand.
Yeah, that's the thing. It works. Like
Yeah.
you guys hit the flatter forehand balls. Troy and I like to hit spin more, and it works for our games. It's pretty universal.
Yeah, I could just wish for one thing, but I don't know. We'll see.
One more.
The racket just got a little taller.
Try it out.
How does it work since we do have the two people that like to hit a lot of drop shots here? How does
In
it
terms
feel?
of how the 98 plays.
Yeah, how does
Yeah.
the 98 like and
It's got-
the new feel?
It's
the
got pretty
flats?
good touch and feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a prestige pro, like super
Where you
buttery.
just-
Yeah, I was just gonna say no
where you
butter.
get- but the balance of like stiffness to, feedback in the racket to like control and feel, it's right up there with like an E-Zone 98.
I mean,
think
you've
there's no
seen
issues.
Alcaraz's drop shot.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
I think you can do that with anything.
The
Yeah.
way that guy has influenced a generation of kids to just hit drop shots from behind the baseline is kind of cool.
That's like Steph Curry in the 3, right?
What?
Everyone's hitting threes now.
Yeah.
It's like Steph.
Or those quarterbacks that would like throw on the run outside the pocket, you know, like
I don't want to talk about
like a
football
Rodgers
today.
to Mahomes. No, but yeah, I will say the touch and feels, you know, really well balanced, really good. You know, it's a great all around type of frame.
Yeah.
I will say when I think of Carlos, I'm very into like stroke mechanics and, you know, technique and stuff. And the one thing with the Aero 98 is like it's spin friendly, but it also is good for people that like to flatten out. And if you watch Carlos hit his forehand, he very much extends the arm and really gets through the ball, like when he's hitting through the court.
Yeah.
And when I was hitting, not the 98, but even the Pure Aero Plus, I was playing dingles and warming up, and I have a tendency on the arrows like to really like, okay, I got a spin racket in my
Brush
head.
up.
Let's like, you know, do this overcompensation thing.
Yeah.
And when I was doing that, my ball was getting so much rotation that it was like landing short and it was like sitting up. And I'm like, okay, I need to like force myself to hit through. But at first I was kind of worried I was going to spray. And the more I like forced myself to extend the arm and hit through the ball on more of a level, like I want to hit, the more I was like doing better with the racket. And
So you didn't have to change your stroke,
This was the
basically.
100 plus, not
Yeah.
the 98.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I do like about it. Whereas like if I do that with like a V-Core 100, I think I struggle
Yeah.
to maintain that control of the ball.
So long story short, try it out. If you don't like the cosmetics, still try it out and then come back to us and then we'll debate you. We'll fight you. Anything else about this Pure Aero? This generation of Pure Aeros?
no, I mean, great job, Babolat. I think you took a really nice playing family of rackets and you've improved on it. So
Yeah.
good job.
Which I don't think it was on the YouTube, but someone was like, why are they updating it? It already plays well. Like it actually plays better.
Yeah.
Which is
Yep.
crazy.
And I mean, we've spoken to, you know, the engineers and the product line managers from various brands, and that is the toughest thing, whether it's a shoe or a racket. When you've got something that's really good, just to improve it a little bit is the hardest thing to do, it seems. So, yeah.
Anything else?
On the 98, Chris, would you be fine putting a leather grip on there, or do you think it plays? You think that would heavy it up too much?
Yeah, I've always just played it stock as a racket where I've never felt the need to. I would have to do that and just see how it felt. I know I did that once on a... Usually, it's really good results. I did have one with an extended length racket where I put the leather grip on and then I didn't like how light it made the tip feel, and then I added weight to the tip, and then the swing weight was so high I was kind of bugging my wrist a little bit.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I ended up just stopped using the racket, but I could have just put it back to stock and been fine.
Yeah. Because on the 98, it's like 11.4 strung stock. And if you put a leather on there, depending on the weight of the leather, some are heavier than others, but you'd probably be at like 11.8, 11.9, almost 12 ounces with an overgrip. So depends on how heavy you want to go.
Way to-
Yeah.
But it won't change the swing weight much, so still be pretty maneuverable.
Yep.
Try it out.
Try it out.
Well, I'm going to wrap this one because it looks like Chris has some court time, and I know he's going to be needing some of these rackets.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we're going to wrap this up. Thanks, you guys, for joining. If you haven't tried the new Pure Aeros, please try them. We love them. We can help guide you to the right one, or try all three. Demo all three and figure out where you need to go. So thanks, you guys, for joining, and happy hitting.